Humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, a warm welcome to all to the concluding session of the Sri Sathya Sai Aradhana Mahotsavam. The last 3 days we have been jointly offering our gratitude to our beloved Master who is always with us, in us, around us and above us in his infinite eternal form. The day before yesterday morning, we commenced a colloquium on the theme experiencing the divine from the form to the formless. Transiting from the form to the formless is a challenging journey indeed. However, we are not alone on this path. Even great masters found it tough to retune their mental frequency to align to the subtler dimensions of divine existence. For instance, the great Advaitin Sri Adi Shankaracharya consolidated the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta. He was a staunch follower of the Advaita philosophy. However, on one occasion, he visited the Vishwanath temple in Kashi. He was so enchanted with the beautiful form of the Lord that he burst forth singing the Vishwanathashtakam. Bhagwan says, subsequently Adi Shankara craved pardon from God for committing 3 mistakes. 1, believing in the formless God, he still visited the temple of Vishwanatha to have darshan of the form. 2, he tried to define God who is indescribable and indefinable through the Vishwanathashtakam. And 3, he tried to confine the omnipresent and all-pervading God within the 4 walls of a temple. On similar lines, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa too had to go through great ordeal to rise above the form of Mother Kali and witness her true cosmic form. The objective of this colloquium is to help us benefit from the experiences and insights of senior devotees who have been sharing their experiences of making this transition with all of us. We heard 3 speakers on the first day. We heard Dr. Samuel Sandbase from San Diego, California, USA, Swami Shuddhananda Giri from the Yogoda Satsang Society of India, and Sri J. Jairaman from Sri Ramanashramam. Continuing the thread, we have today first a young speaker, Sri Sai Giridhar, who will share his thoughts with all of us. He has been a student and is now a research scholar at the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Having him speak to us will give us a unique perspective from the lens of a young man who has shared the wonderful relationship of being a student of Bhagwan Baba. Sri Sai Giridhar hails from Chennai. He is a 3rd generation devotee of Bhagwan. His grandparents came into the fold of Bhagwan in the early 1950s. His father had the unique privilege of having his Upanayanam and marriage performed by Bhagwan. Sri Sai Giridhar is more fortunate to not only have his naming ceremony, Akshabhyasa and Upanayanam performed by Bhagwan, but also to join at his institute and study at his lotus feet. Having completed his schooling from Chinmaya Vidyalaya at Hyderabad, Giridhar joined the Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School in the year 1999. Thereafter, he acquired his BSc Chemistry Honours degree from the institute and went on to pursue his Masters in Chemistry. Subsequently, in 2006, he joined the MPhil program, and after completing his MPhil, Giridhar was blessed by Bhagwan to register for the doctoral research program in the year 2009. Since then, he has been pursuing his research in the area of early detection of heart disease through biomarkers with the active support of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, both at Puttaparthi and Whitefield, and the National Institute of Nutrition at Hyderabad. Sai Giridhar is a very good actor and speaker and very active in cultural initiatives. He has been the house champion and cultural champion in the sports and cultural activities during his studies. He has spoken several times in the divine presence of Bhagwan and has acted in several dramas in the divine presence, one of the best being the Krishna Raya Bharam drama, which was enacted in 2007 as part of the Sports and Cultural Festival of the Institute. Sai Giridhar had the unique fortune of accompanying Bhagwan Baba to Kodaikanal in the year 2007. In the same year, Bhagwan also blessed him to be part of the entourage with Bhagwan to Chennai on the occasion of the Atirudra Mahayagnam organized at Chennai. Since 2008, Sai Giridhar has taken up the role of a mentor in the hostel. He is also the cultural coordinator and has directed several convocation dramas and other Kulwant Hall dramas since 2008. I now invite Sri Sai Giridhar to come and share his thoughts with all of us. Sri Sai Giridhar.
Mukam karoti vachalam pankum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam. The one who is capable of making the mute speak, the one who is capable of commanding the lame to cross the Himalayan range. The very thought of one that fills us with Paramananda, transcendental bliss. To that Lord of Lords, my most beloved Bhagwan, my humble salutations. Mama Ivamsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhutas Sanatanaha. To all the wonderful sparks of divinity, a loving Sairam to all of you. In the given time today, we shall deliberate on a few questions. What is the purpose of an avatar? When we say that we have to move from form to formless, whose form are we talking about? What is the form of God? And how do we make this transition from form to formless? The first question, what is the purpose of avatar? When a couple of our professors were discussing this very same question, they got a doubt. They said that after Rama avatar came in Treta Yuga, we see that Dwapara Yuga was to follow, in which Dharma apparently declined. After Dwapara Yuga, when Lord Krishna left his mortal coil, Kali Yuga was to follow, which again is a decline in Dharma. But the Lord himself has said that when there is decline in Dharma, I shall manifest again and again. Then what is the Dharma which the Lord has come to establish? That evening, they had assembled in Mandir here in Prashanti Nilayam, and Bhagwan, out of the blue, summoned for a discourse. In the discourse, Bhagwan said these very words. He said, there are people who think, what is the Dharma that God has come to establish? Is it Deha Dharma? Is it Paradharma? Does he teach you how to live an ideal life alone? What is the Dharma that God has come to establish? Bhagavan said, God comes as an avatar to establish Prema Dharma, to establish love in the hearts of the devotees. If Lord Sri Rama wouldn't have taken avatar, after 20,000 years, would we have had a Tyagaraja who would inspire millions to follow his path of love to God? If Lord Krishna wouldn't have manifested in that most beautiful form, would Mother Mirabai, Sri Ramanujacharya, ever be able to spread their message of love for God thousands of years later? If Jesus wouldn't have manifested to speak about the glory of his master, his father. After 2000 years, would there be millions of followers of Jesus who have installed love and compassion in their heart? The purpose of Avatar is not merely to show man how to lead an ideal life, to set up marvelous models, institutions like the super specialty hospital, the educational institutions. They are all marvelous models for humans to emulate. But the purpose of Avatar is much beyond. It is to bring the transformation of the heart. The avatar that we are talking about today, our most beloved Bhagwan, it is impossible, even if all the minds in all the cosmos come together to comprehend what he is. It is not possible. It is only possible if he tells us, if he reveals the secret of his avatar to us. And he did so through a story. A devotee asked Bhagwan once, Swami, what is Tripura Rahasyam? Bhagwan smiled and said, let me tell you a story, a chinna katha, very characteristic of our beloved Bhagwan, because the highest of truth, Bhagwan simplifies into short, small, sweet words. Bhagwan said, let me tell you a story. He said, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara once had a doubt. Now, if we have a doubt, we can go to our teacher. If great masters have a doubt, they approach Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. But if Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara have a doubt, whom will they approach? Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara approach the Shakti or Tripura Devi who created them, the Shakti that manifested them. Mother Tripura Devi humbly submitted and said, the answer to your questions even I do not have, but I know where you can find an answer to these questions of yours. So she took Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara of that Brahmanda to a location. It had a huge gateway and she flung it open. And in there they saw a long hallway. Swami then said, on the both sides of the hallway, there were like thousands of thrones, and the four legs of the thrones were Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara and Tripura Devi. These three Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwaras who had this doubt in their mind were stunned to see thousands of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwaras and Tripura Devis. They thought they were alone. But then they were more inquisitive to see whom were they prostrating to. At the end of the hallway, they saw a beautiful lotus feet. And when they craned their neck to see who that personality was, they saw Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba is a cosmic avatar. He is Adi Purusha who manifested himself to become Shakti, and that Shakti in turn manifested into many Tripura Devis, and each one initiated a creation. And even science recognizes today that there could be many, many universes in parallel. There are many Brahmandas, and the Adi Purusha and the Adi Shakti who created or who willed to manifest into many Brahmandas itself came here on this beautiful earth as a cosmic visitor. Such a beautiful form of the Lord. Bhagavan says that the form of an avatar is nothing but the concretization of the love, penance and sacrifice of the devotees. He appears to us as we want to see him. He is the concretization of our love, our penance. Now the question comes, how can I ask a devotee to relinquish such a beautiful form of the Lord? How can I ask a devotee to relinquish such a beautiful form of a Lord? In an interview which Bhagwan gave to a student, we all know how beautifully Swami set an example for all of us. He was a perfect host. What Swami would do is he would open the door, call everybody inside, allow everybody to go in. He himself will go, turn on the fan, close the door behind, come and sit and speak to them. A perfect host he was. On that particular day, everything happened in the same way, except for one difference. After closing the door behind, instead of asking Emi Samacharam, Swami thundered, "How long will you go behind this body of mine? How long will you cage me in this physical body? Learn to see the unseen force that is driving this body itself. Learn to connect to this body." The student, who was by now stunned and surprised by Bhagwan's words, who lived all this while out of pure love and devotion for his physical form, pleaded with Bhagwan, saying, "Swami, but I don't know how to connect to that unseen. I know only you in this beautiful physical form. Please tell me the secret of connecting to you, the unmanifest, the unseen, the eternal." Bhagwan said, "All my life I have been telling you only this, and you still ask me this question?" Swami then said, "The only way, the simplest way, the most beautiful way for a devotee to connect to this unseen power, the eternal power of divinity, is love." Bhagwan once narrated a beautiful story of Mother Radha and Krishna. Krishna returns to Vrindavan once after the Kurukshetra war, and he goes to the banks of Yamuna in search of Radha, and he sees that she is seated under a tree, lost in her thoughts. So Krishna thought that he would surprise her. So what he did is he went slowly around the tree and suddenly jumped in front of Mother Radha, expecting that she would jump in joy and surprise. But to his utter dismay, Mother Radha looked at him and gave a smile. He said, "Radhe, I am your Krishna. I have come back for you." Mother Radha's face had a question mark. She said, "Come back for me?" She held Krishna's hand and ran towards the river Yamuna and picked up a palm full of water and showed it to Krishna and said, "Krishna, see, in every drop of Yamuna, is it not you who is there?" She caught his hand again and ran back to the tree under which she was sitting, and very carefully bent a branch and showed him the leaves and said, "Look, Krishna, in every leaf of this tree, are you not the one who is there? In every blade of grass, are you not the one who is there? When you were always with me, all around me, when did you leave that you are saying that you have come back for me?" Krishna immediately was overwhelmed by such unconditional love of Radha, and he said, "Radhe, I am the Lord of the universe. Ask for anything and I will give it to you readily." And Radha said, "I don't want anything from you." He said, "Don't you want even my love?" And then Radha said, "I know that I love you. I know that you are mine and you will always be mine. You are eternally mine. It doesn't matter if you love me or not." Bhagwan says, At this point, it is a grand secret, dear brothers and sisters, the avatar for the first time fell on his knees, held Mother Radha's hand and said, Radhe, it is for the first time in my entire creation that I have received something from my devotee. Unconditional love. Bhagavan says this unconditional love is what will help us connect to Him. How do we move from form to formless? What is the message in this story? When Bhagavan said, don't run around this physical body, He wanted us to understand that the physical body is made of 5 elements. And by His own divine design, these 5 elements have to merge back into their source. But His form, His most beautiful form, is not to be relinquished. His most beautiful form is to be enshrined by every devotee in their heart, and the reflection of which is to be seen in the mind's eye. And His most sacred and powerful name is to be integrated in our every breath, in our every activity, till our very last breath. To move from form to formless is to enshrine His beautiful form in our hearts. Bhagavan says that all the forms are mine. Once revealing His true identity, Bhagavan said, you know who I am? Sarvarupadharam Shantam. I assume all the forms, yet I am Shantam. What is Shanti? It is not the tranquility of peace which is determined by the amount of sugar in my cup of coffee. It is not the tranquility or peace which fluctuates with whether I get recognition for my work or not. It is not that peace which goes up and down with the stock market. Bhagavan says, Shanti is equanimity. To be equanimous in the face of duality and the outcomes of duality, in pain and pleasure, in joy and sorrow, in success and failure, is true Shanti. And Bhagavan says, the yardstick to measure devotion of a devotee, Swami says, the Shanti of a bhakta is what will determine how much bhakti that bhakta is having. So the yardstick of measurement as to how much devotion we have for the Lord, how much love we have for the Lord, is determined by how equanimous we can be in the face of duality. Sarvarupadharam Shantam, Bhagavan says. Sarvanamadharam Shivam. All names are mine. You can call me by whatever name and I'll come running to you. Here I would like to narrate an extraordinary incident which happened last December. There was a gentleman who came from Indonesia. He is a devout Muslim. His guru, Radin Syed, was a Sufi saint who lived in the 15th century, and he used to practice the teachings of his guru, and the name that resounded in his heart and mind was Allahu Akbar. When he came to Prashanti Nilayam as part of a team which came here to study the wonderful education system which Bhagavan has designed, he had an extraordinary experience. He was seated in the moral class which happens every Thursday in the university. And after the moral class, during which a distinguished speaker, an elder, a devotee of Bhagavan, had given a talk on the nature of avatar, on the beautiful avatar of our beloved Bhagavan. After the talk, he comes to me and says, so, does Sai Baba often come to you and give messages like this? I said, what are you saying? He said, does Sai Baba often come to you and gives such beautiful benedictions? I said, did you see Sai Baba? Brothers and sisters, this gentleman has never come to Prashantinilayam before, and before he reached here, he did not know anything about Swami. And this gentleman said, yes, when the talk was going on, the huge chair which you have kept on the stage, I saw him come and sit there. And after the talk was over, he got up, he came in front, and he stood like Bhagwan with an abhayasta and said, he stood like this and spoke to us. He said, move from every body to every soul. Move from every soul to one soul. Move from one soul to God. An extraordinary experience with a gentleman from Indonesia had. But what a profound message Bhagwan was giving us. Call me by any name, I will be there for you. Last year, some of us had gone to Badrinath, and we happened to meet a yogi who spoke to us at length about Bhagwan. And he said, you will be mistaken if you think that Bhagwan is far away from you. He said, no. He said, it is very, very easy to bring Bhagwan close to you. So we were all eager to know how. He said, very simple. This is an assurance which Bhagwan himself has given, and if you practice, it will happen. He said, first purify your thoughts. Then forget everything about everything else. Dive your mind deep into your heart. Fill your heart with love and call out once, Sai Ram. And Bhagwan will come rushing to you. That is what he said. Call out once from your heart with all love, Sai Ram. And Bhagwan will come rushing to you. Sarvanamadharam Shivam. But what is his form? He has assumed all the forms, yet he is Shantam. Why is he Shantam? Why he is equanimous? The root cause for duality is identification with the body. The moment I think I am this body, I am different from this podium. I am different from this mic. I am different from you all. Bhagwan says, I have assumed all the forms, yet I do not identify myself with any single form. Sarvarupadharam Shantam. So what is his true form then? Satchitananda Rupam Advaitam. Swami says, please understand, I am only one. This whole drama of life, this whole drama of creation is a mono act. And look how wonderfully he is playing his role. What variety, what emotions, what grandeur this creation is. And every single role in this entire creation is played by only one and one alone. And he says, my true form is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means truth, that which does not change with time. We see the next interesting word for us is Ananda. How will we experience Ananda or bliss? The secret is the word in between, Chit. Chit means awareness. Awareness of what? Sureshwaracharya, one of the prime disciples of Sri Adi Shankara, formerly known as Mandan Mishra, after he understood in depth what Advaita meant, after experiencing it, he wrote a beautiful treatise called Naishkarma Siddhi, in which he gives us the secret of awareness. Chit is awareness, which is the link between Sat and Ananda. Ananda or bliss is a manifestation of Sat, which is the truth. But how do I manifest truth? In the form of Ananda, awareness. He says, when you're walking on the road, you see a stone. Now, the object is there. But if you're not thinking about it, though you might see, if you're absent-minded, if you're thinking about something else, thoughts associated with the stone is not there, you will trip over the stone and fall. But if you see the stone and you immediately have thoughts associated with the stone, you become aware of the stone. So you will walk around, nay, you might even pick it up and put it aside so nobody else would fall. Sureshwaracharya says that the secret to awareness is the object and the thoughts associated with objects. Now look at this beautiful thesis of his. He says, God, Brahman, Atman, Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba is omnipresent. The object of awareness is present everywhere. He pervades the entire cosmos, every single atom of it. For us to become aware of His presence in our life, for us to become aware of His presence in every single atom in this world, we have to have smarana, thoughts associated with Him. We have to constantly think of Bhagwan. This is a secret also revealed by Prahalada. What did he do? He constantly thought of Lord Narayana. So when a situation came, when trouble came by, all he did was he intensely prayed. And he manifested Lord Narayana himself there. The secret to awareness, the secret to manifestation of truth, of Satya, is awareness or thinking about the Lord constantly. There is another interesting part. Swami did not stop with this. He did not stop with saying, Sarva Rupa Dharam Shantam, Sarva Nama Dharam Shivam, Satchitananda Rupam Advaitam. He went on to say, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. The three ways in which the divinity is recognized is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. What is the correlation with its true form of Sat Chit Ananda? Sat, truth, the non-changing entity is Satyam, which is none other than Satya Sai himself. Now, if Satyam has to manifest in the beautiful form of Sundaram in our lives, what is required is Shivam. So, if we cultivate auspicious thoughts, if we cultivate auspicious activities, if we participate in auspicious activities with constant contemplation of the Lord, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, Ye Janah Paryupasate, Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam, Yogakshemam Mahamyaham. This is the assurance which the Lord gave. Constantly think of me, then Satya Sai will become manifest in Sundaram, in the most beautiful form in our lives, in our consciousness. To conclude, I want to submit a prayer which I made to Bhagwan and also the answer which I got for it. I prayed to Bhagwan, Swami, I want to see you. And Swami replied, I want to see through you. I prayed to Bhagwan, Swami, I want to hear your nectarine, golden, sweet voice. Swami replied, I want to render nectar and sweetness to your voice by speaking through you. It is only later that I realized that what I am asking and what the Lord Himself is telling me is one and the same. If we allow the Lord to see through us, we will see nothing but Himself, because when the Lord saw us, He did not see us separate from Him. He saw us as Himself. The Lord saw us as Himself. So if He sees through us, all that we see will be Bhagwan Himself. If He speaks through us, who is the first person to listen to Him? The first hearing instrument closest to my mouth is my own ear. So when Lord speaks through me, I will listen to His golden, nectarine, sweet voice. With this prayer that Bhagwan should see through all of us, should speak through all of us, should live through all of us, should love through all of us, I seek his permission to conclude today's talk. Jai Sai Ram.
We now have Padmashree Professor G. Venkataraman, who will deliver the valedictory address of the colloquium. Dr. G. Venkataraman started his career in the 50s at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, Bombay, and spent over a decade at the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, Kalpakkam, till 1987. Thereafter, till 1992, in his position as the director, he led the Anurag project in the Defense Research and Development Organization in Hyderabad. A condensed matter physicist, he worked in some of the areas pursued by Sir C.V. Raman. He is fellow of the Indian National Science Academy and the Indian Academy of Sciences and was formerly the president of the Indian Physics Association. He was awarded the Sir C.V. Raman Prize by the University Grants Commission in 1979 and was Jawaharlal Nehru Fellow from 1984 to 1986. In 1991, he was honored with the Padmashree. He has authored a number of popular books on physics under the series Vignettes in Physics. For his contribution to the popularization of science, the Indian National Science Academy conferred on him the Indira Gandhi Award in 1994. In the monographs Dynamics of Perfect Crystals and Beyond the Crystalline State, in addition to these monographs, Dr. Venkataraman is also the author of the widely acclaimed Journey into Light, Life and Science of Sir C.V. Raman. Professor Venkataraman took over as the 5th Vice Chancellor of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in 1996 and served in this position for 2 years. He currently heads Radio Sai Global Harmony and is spearheading a number of productions in various media to spread the message of Bhagwan to all corners of the globe. Towards this end, apart from creating special video documentaries and delivering many enlightening series of talks on Radio Sai, he has also authored many books, and some of these are Message of the Lord, Love All, Serve All, Conversation Between God and Man, and the excellently produced Journey into Valmiki's Ramayana, which is in 2 volumes. Just yesterday, the governor of Andhra Pradesh released yet another masterpiece, The Miracle of Pure Love, which convincingly brings forth the transition from a young boy, Satyanarayana Raju, into the avatar of the age, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I now invite Dr. G. Venkataraman to come and share his thoughts with all of us. Professor G. Venkataraman.
Most beloved Bhagwan, as always, I'd like to begin by offering my humble, reverential, and most loving pranams at your divine lotus feet. I would also like to express my grateful thanks to the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust for giving me the opportunity to speak on this occasion when we are bringing the curtain down on the first ever Sai Aradhana Mahotsavam. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank Rangarajan for giving me a generous introduction. But I would also like to compliment him for the wonderful way in which, while introducing speakers, he also exposed us to the running theme of the symposium, which we should not lose sight of. Esteemed elders, dear sisters and brothers, and my dear students, Sai Ram to all of you. Time flies quickly, and 1 year has passed since Swami dissolved into eternity. Those of us who are deeply attached to the form, and please let me know who is not, continue to feel that something is missing. Inevitably, this brings to my mind a beautiful song that M.S. Subbulakshmi sang in the famous Tamil film Meera. The song begins with the words, Engum niraindaye, ni endru engu maraindayo. It roughly means, oh, the one who is everywhere, where have you disappeared today? Today, all of us are asking the same question, even as we cast longing glances in that direction, hoping against hope to suddenly see Swami sitting there as he used to. Meera posed a question but got no answer. We, however, have an answer, and believe it or not, that was given to us by Swami himself a long time ago. In September 1984, Bhagavan gave 34 discourses on the Bhagavad Gita in the Bhajan hall over there, directed specially at students. This is an extraordinary series, the like of which does not exist and cannot exist for obvious reasons. In one of those discourses, Swami said, and this is a paraphrase, right now you are all in this hall. Swami also is here speaking to you. Later, when you go back to your respective places, there will be no bhajan hall and no Swami. And all the people whom you now see around you would also not be there. This absence is purely physical. If, however, you look inside you, you can still see the hall, the audience, and Swami. Not merely that, you can even hear Swami's words. The essence of Swami's remark is that the absence that we feel is merely at the physical and material level, as has been stressed by speaker after speaker. If we restrict Swami merely to his form, then we are bound to feel sad, and we have no one to blame except ourselves. Because this sadness is our own making. As Giridhar asked, what right do we have to restrict who is transcendental and omnipresent to a mere form? Dear sisters and brothers, today as this wonderful Aradhana function draws to a close, it is these words of Swami that I just referred to that must form the starting point of our journey forward. Whether we like it or not, we have to move forward. And I, being a practical person, that is my training, I would like to look in that direction. To put it differently, the time has come not to look for Swami outside but within our hearts, as Giridhar said, especially because Swami has given us the categorical assurance that if we look for him there, we would be able to experience him far better than we can through our senses. Let me move on and now introduce the word legacy, which is often taken to mean something that is handed down from one generation to another. That is indeed usually the case. However, there is also another kind of legacy that is not merely inherited but is enduring. Legacies left behind by great masters belong to that category. And those who inherit the legacies of the masters not only cherish what has been handed down to them, but also protect, nourish, and build upon what has been bequeathed to them. Now, the immortal legacy that our beloved Bhagwan has left for us is his love, which was also his life, his message, and teaching. And the issue now before us is, how do we nourish, protect, and build upon this legacy? The rest of my talk would be devoted largely to seeking an answer to this question. I would like to begin my quest for an answer to the question that I just posed by recalling the observations Swami made at the beginning of his discourse delivered in 2006 at the time of the Atirudra Mahayagam right here. Swami said, that life is based entirely on karma or action, and that there is no moment from birth to death when we do not act. We may be fast asleep, yet the heart beats, the lungs breathe, and the blood flows. Swami explained that these involuntary actions are also karma. More important, however, are the actions we consciously engage in and thus also become responsible for. Such actions, Swami emphasized, must always be based on dharma. And that, Swami said, was the reason why God has blessed all of us with the human form. Now you see, animals, as we all know, do not have the capacity for rising to higher levels of consciousness. Humans alone have that capability. That is why when animals kill a human being, they are not charged with murder. In the case of humans, however, killing another human in civil society is a crime, even in communist countries that are atheistic. On another occasion, making seva the theme of his discourse, Swami said that true seva can flow only from prema or pure love, and significantly added that prema without tyaga is impossible. Now, if we put these two discourses that I just mentioned together, it becomes evident that just as the Ganga and Yamuna merge in Prayag and thereafter flow as the Akhanda Ganga, tyaga and prema must merge and transform mere karma into dharma. In short, just as without Gangotri there cannot be any Ganga, so also without tyaga or sacrifice there cannot be any seva or service. Let us keep that in mind when we talk about seva. Now all this is very nice to talk about, but what exactly does it mean to put all this in practice, especially as we go forward? That is the issue facing us, and let me now address it in some measure instead of trying to dodge it. I will begin by drawing attention to a fact that is hardly ever appreciated, which is that, to my knowledge at least, Swami is the only avatar who, in a sense, collectivized spirituality. You may find that a very strange phrase, but I shall explain myself. Now, there is a reason why I am making a particular mention of this, because typically a guru guides each Shishya individually so that the embodied soul is able to seek a path best suited for it and thereafter struggle to liberate itself. This is not surprising, since at the end of the day, spiritual evolution is an individual experience. Nevertheless, Swami changed the ball game entirely, because this is Kali Yuga. Currently, the population is in billions and not in millions as it used to be a long time ago. Besides, the world is heavily interconnected and changes are taking place at an uncomfortably rapid pace. On account of all these factors, the traditional individual-centric approach would be too slow. So what did Swami do? He made all of us come together like the members of a huge orchestra and assume the role of a conductor. This was his way of mass uplifting, if I may put it that way. Swami did not explain all this to us. He just got us involved doing various things, all of which, however, were a part of his grand design and master plan. Extending the musical analogy, I may say that all of us played different instruments at different times, but guided by one baton, wielded by one conductor. Thus all of us were part of his divine symphony orchestra, and that is what I mean by the collectivization of spirituality. What I am trying to say is that from now on, our eyes cannot glance at the music score that Western musicians have in front of them, or we cannot look for the guidance of the baton in front. Instead, each of us must play the musical score that is written in our hearts. I am sure at this point I am beginning to lose most of you, and so let me briefly bring in Mahatma Gandhi in order to make clear what I am driving at. In 1904, while Gandhi was practicing as an attorney in Johannesburg in South Africa, he received from a British friend of his named Henry Pollock a copy of a book by John Ruskin, which was written about 50 years earlier. And the book was called Unto This Last. Once, when Gandhiji was traveling by train from Johannesburg to Durban, he took this book as reading material. And once he began reading it, he found it to be so profound and compelling that he could not sleep, he could not put the book down. He spent the whole night reading it again and again. 4 years later, Gandhiji wrote a book in Gujarati, paraphrasing Ruskin's ideas, and this is the real important part, and gave it the name Sarvodaya. As Gandhiji himself explained, he arrived at this word by combining two words, Sarva meaning all and Udaya meaning uplift. Later in his autobiography, the Mahatma said, Sarvodaya means welfare for all. There is a particular reason why I am referring to all this, which is connected with the fact that Gandhi based Sarvodaya principle on the very first sloka of the Isha Upanishad, which in translation runs as follows. God the ruler pervades all there is in this universe. Therefore, renounce and dedicate all to him. And then enjoy or use the portion that may fall to thy lot. Never covet anybody's possession. Now, commenting on this verse, Gandhiji says, the seer to whom this mantra or verse was revealed was not satisfied with the magnificent statement that God was to be found everywhere. The seer went further and said, since God pervades everything, nothing belongs to you, not even your body. God is the undisputed and unchallengeable master of everything you believe that you alone possess. We have heard Swami tell us the very same thing. Often he would say to us, everything already belongs to me. There is therefore nothing material you can really give me. But there is one thing you can give me, and that is prema. And that is all I want from you. And that we heard from GIRIDHAR also, which Radha gave to Krishna. I hope that slowly the different pieces I have been placing before you now begin to connect. The starting point is that Swami wants us to offer love to him. How do we do that? Swami says we should do that by seeing him in all. I am in all, he would often tell us, adding significantly, service to man is service to God. So if you really want to see me in others by serving them. If now we link all this to Gandhiji's Sarvodaya, we realize that truly speaking, our service must uplift the whole of society. That, may I say, would help us all to reconnect to Swami via the first verse of the Isha Upanishad. So you see, we really have a reasonably clear roadmap for going forward. There are, of course, many details to be filled in, some of which I shall seek to as I proceed. I wish to quote the Mahatma just once more before I go back to where I started from, and I have good news for you. I shall be wrapping it up soon. About action, Gandhiji says, the whole gamut of man's activities today constitutes an indivisible whole. You cannot divide action into watertight compartments such as social, economic, political, and purely religious work. I do not know of any religion apart from human activity. If you think about it a little bit and link Gandhiji's observation with Swami's remark that karma must be based on dharma, it boils down to one simple rule. There is simply no human activity from which dharma can be excluded. Period. It's as simple as that. There is a specific reason why I am mentioning this. If you look around the world today, thanks to the media influence on one hand and peer pressure on the other, there is an excessive sense of hyper-individualism. Whether we like it or not, the source of this is the Western world, and today the young as well as the elite are in a hurry to trash basic values, all in the name of individual freedom. It is sobering in this context to recall what Swami said way back in 1971 at the time of the inauguration of the Anantapur College. Here's a small extract from that discourse, and it is remarkably prophetic. He said, even then, India is being forged into a Bhogabhumi, a land of skyscrapers, tin, food, air conditioning and television. Indians are being shaped into an imitative, insurgent and ill-disciplined mass. They are being transplanted on other soils and encouraged to grow without roots. This is an insult to the past and a sacrilege on the history of time. Mind you, this is what Swami said 40 years ago, long before the internet, the smartphone, Facebook, Twitter and whatnot. Dear sisters and brothers, how can dharma survive if morals are considered optional, when right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right, and truth is defined as being halfway between right and wrong? I have actually heard people say such things. What chance does dharma have when people distance themselves from their conscience on grounds of being amoral? This is what Pope Benedict famously referred to as the tyranny of relativism. The English language might provide nice and convenient words that might suit those who are dominated by the mind, but I can assert without fear of contradiction that in Swami's dictionary there is nothing in between the word dharma and adharma. One is either for dharma or against it. The choice is as clear as that, and it is foolish to claim, as many do in the name of globalization, etc., that values have outlived their utility. On the issue of the relevance of values today, I beg to differ and differ strongly from the prevailing attitudes. Swami has repeatedly reminded us there is Sathya in the air of this land, there is Dharma in the soil of this land, and there is Prema in the waters that flow. Why? Because this land has been sanctified for thousands of years by countless rishis, sages and seers. And that, as Swami explained to Hislop, is also the reason why God incarnates in this land again and again. It is no accident. By way of adding fine print to the above remark, allow me to recall a conversation I was blessed to have with Swami around 1998, I think. Swami was in Vrindavan, and one morning after darshan, he went for a short ride and took me along with him. Swami was in the back seat and I was in the front seat. And after a while, I hesitantly turned back and asked, Swami, why is there so much adharma in this world? Swami did not answer, and it said to myself, there goes my question. A little later, Swami asked me, what is the mood like in Sai Ramesh Hall before Swami comes for darshan? I replied, Swami, there is absolute silence and an electrifying atmosphere. More than anything else, there is a joyous air of expectation with everyone craning his or her neck, looking in the direction of the mandir to see if Swami is coming. Swami slowly replied, oh, I see, and lapsed into silence. I was not sure whether I had answered Swami's question, nor was I certain whether the reply I gave was what he expected. After a minute or so, Swami again spoke to me and asked another question. This time it was, supposing a child suddenly cries, what happens? I replied, Swami, everyone turns in the direction from which the sound is coming to see who is crying. Once again, Swami gave the cryptic reply, oh, I see, and became silent. I was totally lost trying to figure out what was going on when Swami suddenly said, you see, that exactly is what is happening in the world about dharma and adharma. There is not as much adharma in the world as you seem to think. What is actually happening is that thanks to the media and people's curiosity, adharma always gets a lot of attention. There are so many people doing good, but who is bothered about them? Dharma is simply ignored by one and all, and there is just no one to speak about it. That really is the problem of today's world, and that is what makes people like you think there is more adharma than dharma. Honestly, I was just blown away by how step by step Swami not only answered my question but also corrected the wrong impression I had. Dear sisters and brothers, and also my dear students, I do not know what you make of that conversation, but to me it sent the following message. Dots exist, but unless the dots are connected, there would be no line. And without a line, we cannot make a circle. In other words, while there are millions of good people, unless they join hands, Dharma cannot be encircled, contained and checked. It is my submission that we who have been particularly blessed have a key and also an important as well as collective role to play in strongly checkmating adharma. Without such affirmative action, true Shanti and Sarvodaya are simply not possible. In my view, if the situation has to improve, then Dharma must roar like a triumphant lion and not snore like a sleeping tiger or mew like a disappointed cat. It is true avatars come to arrest this destabilization of Dharma, but their work is to continue even after they withdraw. Swami hinted at this in a little known but most significant remark he made way back in 1968. That year, while on a visit to Mumbai, back then it used to be called Bombay, Swami addressed a group of scholars and intellectuals at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. After he finished, Munshi was the Kulapati at that time. After he finished, Swami was asked many questions, and one of them was, Baba, do you think India should go nuclear? Now at that time, India had not yet gone nuclear, and the nuclear issue used to receive much attention in the press and from intellectuals. Now Swami's reply to that question was breathtaking and also profound. Please pay careful attention. Swami said, and I am giving here a paraphrase. He said, among the Pandavas, Arjuna was intelligent, valorous, and highly skilled in archery. His brother Bhima was a mighty, ferocious warrior, unmatched in the use of the club as a weapon. Compared to these two, the eldest among the Pandavas, namely Dharmaputra, was physically somewhat smaller in stature and not so proficient in the martial arts. Yet, Arjuna and Bhima always bowed to Yudhishthira. Why? Because Yudhishthira was the very embodiment of Dharma. That is the kind of respect Dharma always commands. In the Committee of Nations, America is like Arjuna, while Russia is like Bhima. India should be like Dharmaputra and give a lead to all countries. India should acquire a high and exalted moral stature by steadfast adherence to Dharma. If India does that, this is the real point. Swami said, if India does that, the world will bow to Dharma even if it does not have nuclear weapons. In fact, moral leadership is India's destiny. Dear sisters and brothers, time and again Swami has declared that India is the engine that has to pull the train made up of all the other countries. If India is the engine, then Dharma is the fuel for this engine. And if I may say so, all of us in various ways, individually and collectively, especially via the various institutions of the Sai Samsthan, we might be connected with, all of us must serve as carriers of the fuel. In that sense, when one curtain comes down, another goes up, signaling a new scene that will see all of us marching towards our tryst with the destiny that Swami has carved out specially for us. The task ahead is not easy, but let us not forget that the huge chariot of Lord Jagannath in Puri, or Juggernaut as the Brits call it, can and does move when pulled by devotees. Inspired by that example and thanking our dear Lord Sai for this great blessing, let us pick up the torch of the Prema and march forward crying loudly, Jai Sai Ram. Thank you.